Welcome back to the Freedom First podcast. We are your hosts, Blaine Smotherman
and Eric Kern.
This episode is brought to you in part by Jeffries Firearms Training.
Shooters making shooters. For more information, contact owner Ronnie Jeffries on Instagram at Jeffries Firearms Training.
Our guest this week is the co-founder of Sports Marketing, which he founded with NFL legend Warren Moon. He formerly served as CEO of the renowned Leigh Steinberg Sports and Entertainment Agency, which was the inspiration for the movie Jerry Maguire, starring Tom Cruise. His life's mission is to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. This simple yet powerful mission has led him on an incredible journey to provide one thing: value. In all his content, his communication, his books, social media, that's exactly what you'll find is value. He is a 3-time international best-selling author, a top 100 business coach, the executive producer of Entrepreneur's #1 digital business show, Elevator Pitch, and he hosts the top entrepreneur podcast, The Playbook, which I would highly recommend listening to. His newest book, Game Time Decision Making, was a #1 new release. He has been recognized by Variety magazine as their Sports Humanitarian of the Year and was awarded the Ellis Island Medal of Honor. He's written several books, Connected to Goodness, Compassionate Capitalism. He's put on TED Talks on YouTube, and he always posts amazing, valuable content on his social media platforms. He speaks all around the world, and we got the opportunity to sit down and speak with him today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome David Meltzer. Welcome. You have now entered the Freedom First podcast,
where we have conversations with some of the most interesting human beings on the planet.
People who live and breathe a Freedom First mentality. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Freedom First podcast. Today, we have on the CEO and founder of Sports Marketing, Mr. David Meltzer. He is also the host of one of the biggest podcasts there is, The Playbook, and the former CEO of Leigh Steinberg, and was kind of the about the movie Jerry Maguire, right? So that was kind of
the firm Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment was the inspiration with Cameron Crowe for the movie Jerry Maguire, and it's been a lot of fun just having that in the back pocket.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us today, and it's just an honor.
Thank you. Cool. Let's get to it,
Awesome.
brothers.
So you talk a lot about kind of failure and, you know, overcoming failure, and you've had to overcome a lot of failure in your life and reaching that potential and reaching success today. So can you kind of start off with some of those failures early on in life? I know you were, your mother was a public school teacher, single parent. So you were kind of learned that at an early age. Can you kind of go back and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that's that journey is why I define failure as lessons, right? So it gives it a different energy, a different perspective. So I see each of the incidences that have occurred since I was 5 years old that other people would call mistakes or failures. To me, it's just lessons, and the lessons keep on coming in my life, and I keep on failing forward with those lessons. But for me, you know, the biggest failures were just originally, I wanted to be a professional athlete. You know, in my mom's eyes, it was doctor, lawyer, or failure. So to be a professional athlete would have been to be a huge failure in my #1 most important person's mind. My siblings all were hyper academics, Harvard, Penn, Columbia, summa cum laude, but I wanted to be a professional athlete and got a scholarship to college. But my very first game, I think, was my biggest failure, as you guys would call it, because I got ran over by a guy named Christian Okoye. He's the AFC Player of the Year the next year. But I remember laying on my back, just saying, doctor, lawyer. I had enjoyed the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential, which wasn't a great potential, by the way, for professional football. And I had literally failed. I knew at that moment that there's a whole another level of football that my talent and my desire wasn't going to reach. So then my next failure was I was going to be a doctor. And I went to visit my brother, who was a doctor, and I learned the most valuable lesson I still use today. Beyond being thankful and asking, I told my brother, I visited him in the hospital, I'm like, man, I hate this place. He's like, what place? I said, the hospital. He said, Dave, you're going to be a doctor. You're 18 years old, you're pre-med, God knows you're not going to be a professional football player. What do you mean you hate hospitals? I said, well, I'm not going to be a hospital doctor. I'm going to be a sports physician. I'm going to work on the sidelines and in locker rooms. I'll never have to be in a hospital. And that's where he gave me this advice that I give to everyone. Be more interested than interesting. I have so many young people, old people, middle-aged people. They haven't done the work. They haven't found out what it takes, aligned their skills, their knowledge, their desire to see where it's supplementary and synergistic to what they want to do. And so I started to do that at a very young age. I did go to law school to appease my mom out of respect, but when I graduated, another lesson. I had 2 job offers in a recession, one to be an oil and gas litigator, which is the sole purpose why I went to the law school I went to, because oil and gas litigators made the most money out of law school, and the law school I went to had the most oil and gas litigators graduating. But meanwhile, I took a sales job. Freaked my mom out. She told me that I was going to be a failure, that the internet was a fad, the internet would never work, nobody would ever do research on the internet, you need books to do research. And there's where another great lesson came about, that just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. So many different times in our lives, we seek advice from people that don't know what the heck they're talking about. So I, at that moment, had realized that I better find people who are where I want to be and ask them for directions, not ask people that are not where I want to be for directions, because I'm going to end up where I don't want to be. Meanwhile, 9 months out of law school, millionaire, bought my mom a house and a car, which had good and bad tied to it. The good was that I was capable of making a lot of money to help a lot of people and was really happy. The bad thing was it was start of a terrible perception that money buys love and happiness. Because for the next 15 years of my life, money bought love and happiness, and everything I did reaffirmed it. 1995, we sold that company for $3.4 billion. I went up to the Silicon Valley, raised hundreds of millions of dollars, went and became the CEO of the world's first, what they then called convergence devices in 1999. I call them smartphones now today, but I was the CEO of the world's first smartphone, Windows device. It was a Windows CE device manufactured by Samsung. And then I ran the most notable sports agency in the world, representing the greatest football, baseball, boxers of all times, all the names that you could imagine, over $2 billion in management, which back then, it wasn't $2 billion in management, wasn't 4 quarterbacks, like it is today.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It was a lot of athletes. So anyway, but here's where it all kicks off, right? The greatest failure I had was 2 years before I lost everything. And everything to me was over $100 million. And I know you guys are sitting there going, what do you mean 2 years before you lost everything was your greatest failure? Well, it was, because that's when I learned that money doesn't buy happiness. I learned that I had lost all the values that had gotten me there. I had my dad, my mom, my best friend Rob, and my wife all stick a foot up my butt to tell me I'm lost and I better take stock in who I was and what I wanted to become. And that 2 years before, especially with my wife, she was going to leave me, told me she wasn't happy, told me I was going to end up dead. I had lied to her. I went to the Grammy Awards with Little John, lied to her, came home wasted at 5:30 in the morning. And in my mind, I thought everything was amazing and everything. But I will tell you, from the time I was 30 till the time I was 36, inherently, subconsciously, I was unhappy. I was buying things I didn't need to be happy. I was buying more things I didn't need to be happy. I was buying different things I didn't need to be happy. I was buying things to impress people I didn't even like to be happy. I was an empty soul. I was shallow, and those were the lessons I've learned in the last 15 years. I've been on a mission, as you know, to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, which is why I wake up so early on a Sunday to talk to you guys. I'm looking for you to carry on the legacy. I'm looking for 1,000 people like Blaine and Eric simply to empower 1,000 people in your life to empower 1,000 people to be happy.
That compound, compounding and just keep on going. So when you were making a lot of money, spending a lot of money, did you feel happy at the time, or did you have to kind of step back once some of those your close loved ones kind of started talking to you and telling you, and then realize it?
I think it was a combination. I would wake up unhappy, and then I would create incidences and occurrences in my life to fulfill that unhappiness. So alcohol, drugs, buying things, and then I'd feel even worse the next day.
Sure.
So I knew I was unhappy, but I was using an artificial stimuli to create happiness to sustain where I was at. But that's what created the causes for me to lose everything. I had surrounded myself with the wrong people, the wrong ideas, the wrong habits, the wrong disciplines. I wasn't enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. I was enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of nothingness. And that's what I was going to end up with.
Right. So do you think a lot of the same principles you have just in your day-to-day life and your business, are those the exact same, or what, how do those play together?
Yeah, so for me, I don't separate work and family and play. Like I have activity I get paid for, activity I don't get paid for. I look at things a little differently than most people. I utilize time very effectively, but I live by four values, whether it's activity I get paid for or not, or I have planned or I don't have planned, or my sleep. Gratitude's number one. If you don't have the perspective to find the light, the love, and the lessons and everything, to find the superpowers in everyone, you don't get it. Two, forgiveness. Forgiveness not only brings peace, which is the main objective of your life, is to have a stress-free life, a peaceful life. That doesn't mean you're not busting your balls to get everything done and working, I'd say working again, pushing and persistence and all the aggressive that doesn't, peace comes from no stress, no resistance, voids, shortages, obstacles, interference. So what I also have found about forgiveness, especially through the pandemic, is forgiveness not only gives you peace, but it gives you a sense of certainty. Because the closer you come to forgiving the unforgivable, the easier it is to have certainty in your life. And certainty is something nobody has. In fact, if anybody out there can tell me what's going to happen tomorrow, I literally know how to make billions of dollars. I'll give it all away, but call me if you know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. The third thing is accountability. So many people, especially now, live in blame, shame, and justification. I was the king of overselling, back end selling, manipulating, lying, and cheating, justifying everything in my life, blaming everybody else. But when you take accountability, you have complete control of your life. And that control will give you a sense of balance, give you a sense of confidence, give you a sense of security and focus as well, that allows you to take advantage of what I call the mathematical equation of luck. Attention plus intention equals the coincidences in your life. There is no luck. You make it happen by utilizing your focus, your attention, and your intention, what you think, say, do, believe, and these unconscious competencies that you're blessed with, personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, addictions, your potential. And then finally, the last value, Eric, is inspiration. One of the key distinctions that I've learned in my life is the difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation, it gets you up, it gets you back up, gets you started, gets you back started. Super important, but fear can motivate you. In fact, I know a lot of professional athletes, Olympic athletes. I sit on the Olympic committee. They'll tell me fear motivates me. I'm like, yes, it does. It's also a soul sucker. It's not going to allow you to be inspired. The people the Tom Brady's of the world, the LeBron James of the world, the Kobe Bryants of the world, they live inspired, in spirit. Things come through them. They don't live in a world of fear where everything happens to them. They live in a world of, why me, of liability. They don't live in the world I lived in when I made all that money, which I called the world of just enough, of for me, buying things you don't need to impress people you don't like. But man, if you can live with complete faith, blended with the other currency, money, that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, you're giving everything you have, utilizing the law of Goya, get off your ass and making it happen, but having faith that you're going to end up somewhere better, you'll also live in an inspired world of more than enough of everything for everyone to come through you, not for you or to you like a victim, through you, giving your life away for the betterment of all in a great abundance of more than enough for everyone and everything.
Awesome. So all these lessons, inspiring people, all these things, you learn that through failure. And I think a lot of people, kids today, they see the end product that you have and these athletes have, but they don't always see that struggle, getting up early. When you're broke, you lost everything. They don't always see that behind the scenes. They see the byproduct of it. And
especially on social media, right? That's
right.
why I illuminate all the screw ups. I call it the dummy tax, right? I want these kids to know, look, it's not how hard, literally you can hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep on moving forward. Just like the dumb Rocky movies that I watch.
Right.
It's so true. But look, every single successful person I know has had pain. And look, most people, and the problem with the way the internet works today is most people see no pain. They look at all these people going, oh, he has no pain in his life. No, pain is, not a stop sign. Every one of those person have learned one thing like I have, that pain's an indicator. Pain's a turn signal. Pain's telling me, hey man, you got something to learn, right? This failure, this pain, you got something to learn. And if you learn it, you're going to be in a better place, a better situation, or make your situation better. Pain is simply not a stop sign. It's, to me, a motivational inspiration to move to a better place, a better position, to know that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, angling to what I want, and having the faith that I'm going to end up somewhere better.
So to inspire 1 billion people, getting up in the morning,
Over
1 billion, right? Getting up and talking to people like us. What are some things that you are doing other just to spread the message? But I know you have all kinds of projects you're working on. I think you just started a new show. So talk about some of those plans, those projects to inspire over 1 billion people.
Yeah, so I have a mathematical equation to it. I'm looking for 1,000 people that can, and so I want to go deeper on those 1,000 to inspire them. So I got to give them equipment or ammo. So I have, you mentioned the podcast, the Playbook, one of the top podcasts in the world.
It's amazing, by the way.
Playbooks. Thank you. So it not only takes all the playbooks to success with the greatest celebrities, athletes, entertainers, billionaires, and millionaires, and entrepreneurs, but I also do my free trainings on there. And I also give snippets and lessons and all those things on there as well. Then, of course, I have 2 TV shows to empower entrepreneurs. One is Elevator Pitch, and the other is my new show on Bloomberg and Amazon called 2-Minute Drill. And we have over $50,000 of cash and prizes every episode to help inspire and motivate entrepreneurs to be creative and expand and grow at that exponential rate that you were talking about with compound interest in their life. I write books and give them away for free. So anyone can always email me for my books, my guides, my exercise, my trainings. They're all free. David@dmeltzer.com is my email. David@dmeltzer.com. I answer everything directly myself. You may get a cryptic answer or a cut and paste answer because I can suit it towards what you're asking, but it is me. And if you question it's me, you'll get an ugly video of me or something saying, hey, it is me. I also speak around the world. I do interviews every day. I provide as much content as I can on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, even TikTok. Wherever you want to learn the lessons, let me pay your dummy taxes, my basic message. I can't pay your state and federal taxes for your life, but I can pay your dummy tax, and my dummy tax is far more than my other taxes all combined. So let me pay your dummy tax. Let me be that person to give you directions on where to be if you want to be in a place where you make a lot of money, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, and most importantly, you're happy every day. I'm not happy all day, but I'm happy every day. I just spend minutes and moments in misery. That's it. I learned to practice ending fear. I'm a ferocious Buddha, but I am happy the majority of every day. If you want to learn how to do that, David@dmeltzer.com.
Yeah, there you go, people.
Awesome. We appreciate you, David. The last question I have for you is just something that I kind of struggle with, and it's the discipline aspect. How do you stay so disciplined in what you do?
Practice. So I have 5 practices real quick for everyone. I think discipline is my greatest superpower that I'm capable of enjoying, meaning I'm happy doing every day without quit towards what I want. So what does that mean? Here's how you do it. Number 1, lower the bar. Don't try to do anything that you can't do every day. That's the biggest misnomer that people do. It's like, I want to be disciplined. I'm going to run a marathon every day. You can't run a marathon every day, right? So go ahead, run a half a mile one day, a mile one day, 10 miles one day, go back to a half a mile, but run every day. 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. So lower the bar and then know your what every day. So ask yourself, what do I want personally? What do I want experientially? What do I want giving wise to be productive and give to other people? And what do I want to receive? And when you know what you want, don't be afraid of being a hypocrite, especially at your age, Blaine and Eric, and telling people, you know what? I don't want to be a doctor. I didn't know that doctors had to be in hospitals. I want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to be a sales guy. I want to make lots of money. I don't want to do that. Don't be afraid. Know your what every day. Take inventory of your values every day. Then secondly, know your who. Notice I haven't said why at all. The why will come later. Know your what, know your who. Do spend your 80% of the time finding people who already have your what and asking them for it or to help you get it. And so if you want to know how to do it, just write this question down. Do you know anyone that can help me? In person, on the phone, via email and media, traditional and social. Do you know anyone that can help me? So know your what, know your who, now know your how. In other words, be a student. Pay attention to the values that you have at the beginning of the day. Give intention to it. Get off your ass, the law of Goya, and the coincidences will happen. Study the stuff you have planned. Study the stuff you don't have planned, meaning the empty space. Use your time wisely and study your sleep. My tomorrow starts today. I warm up for my sleep by having an unwinding routine. My tomorrow starts at 9 p.m. tonight, knowing that I'm going to utilize the subconscious and unconscious connectivity of my sleep so I plateau and grow. Most people live their life like Camus wrote in The Stranger, like the myth of Sisyphus. They push a boulder all day long up to the top of the hill, and then the next morning it's at the same place, the bottom of the hill. Plateau and grow. Use the how. Then fourth, be the now. What, who, how, and now. What does that mean? Do it now. 100% of the things you do now get done. The difference between successful, disciplined people and other people is successful, disciplined people get things done. If you can't do it now, put it into your calendar for later in the day or the next week or the next month according to importance. Use Roosevelt's matrix of importance versus urgency to decipher according to your values that you take inventory of every day what's important to you. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, get into the practice. The best practice for discipline is to practice ending fear. Identify what you're afraid of, the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, angry, guilty, resentful, all those different feelings you get in your own way when you're not disciplined. Look, I work out every day, and I've worked out on and off since I've been very, very young, and there's not been one workout I've ever done that at the end of it I said, man, I wish I didn't do that. Not one workout did I ever at the end of it go, that was stupid, that sucked. But I can tell you about 90% of them, I questioned myself whether I wanted to do it at the beginning. So get out of your own way, identify what you're afraid of, then stop, breathe through your nose, out through your mouth, drop to your higher center of neutrality, and roll to what you want according to your what, your who, your how, and your now. And I promise you, you will institute discipline at a compound rate. Just like Einstein talks about, it'll double every 72 segments when you compound something daily. Remember, if you don't do it daily, you're going to zero yourself out. You start back. X to the zero exponential is 1. You start back at step 1. You're living the myth of Sisyphus all over again. So guys, lower the bar. 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. Have your routine. Have an adaptable routine. Know your values, your what, your how, your what, your who, your how, and your now. And practice ending fear. You can empower other people with these same things. Reach out to me if you want notes on this, exercises, guides. I know I speak quickly, so david@dmeltzer.com if you need anything.
Awesome. And a couple little things towards the end. As we end this podcast, what would you leave, whether it's young people, people going into the business? You've already talked about a few different things, but what would you leave them with?
3 things. 1, say thank you before you go to bed and when you wake up. 2, ask. You can't out-ask the universe. Ask, you know anyone that can help me. Ask. And then 3, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Be thankful, ask, and be kind.
Awesome. Thank you, David. That's very powerful. Everything you've said has been awesome, and I'm definitely going to come back on this podcast and take notes, and I appreciate you so much.
And reach out to me, guys.
Where can our listeners reach you at? I know you've already said it, but just...
Right on. David@dmeltzer.com is my email. @David Meltzer. Google David Meltzer. I actually have a David Meltzer search engine. You can find everything at search.dmeltzer.com. Please reach out. I'm here to be of service. Leverage all the dummy tax and relationship capital I have, especially if you're young. No, guys my age, it's the biggest compliment in the world when you reach out and ask for help.
Yeah, and so a couple times you reached out to us on Instagram and asked how you could be of service to us. And I think it was 2 years ago, I was dialoguing with, or I'd emailed you and you had someone get back to me and you guys sent my entire class, middle school class, copies of your book. So I appreciated that. And after that, I started just I was listening to all your episodes on your podcast, and it was just incredible. So I appreciate you being of service to as many people as you could reach.
Well, just wait till all those middle school kids become teachers themselves and tell you how much of an impact that you've had on their lives and how they're going to have an impact on other people's lives because of what you, Blaine, and what you, Eric, are doing. So don't forget that.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We appreciate you and your support of the show. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave feedback on Apple Podcasts.